Topic today is going to discuss mainly the underclass. I'm going to start just with an opening video. I'm showing the website where I'm getting it from, Socialism Explained, here, so you know exactly where I got it from. Please check out this site as well. I'm going to just do a brief recording on it, just so you can see basically what I'm talking about on this in a video.
What is the underclass? Have you ever wondered about the people who seem to be left behind in society? The term underclass refers to a specific group of individuals who find themselves at the very bottom of the social hierarchy. This group is often marked by chronic poverty, long-term unemployment, and social exclusion. Unlike those who may have low-wage jobs, members of the underclass frequently experience persistent joblessness and relying heavily on government welfare programs for survival. This group faces significant barriers that prevent them from participating in the economy and integrating into society. They often live in marginalized communities where opportunities for advancement are scarce. From a socialist viewpoint, the underclass is not merely a result of individual choices or failures. Instead, it is deeply connected to the structural inequalities that exist within capitalist systems. Capitalism tends to concentrate wealth and power in the hands of a small number of people. This concentration creates and sustains the underclass by excluding many from meaningful economic opportunities. While the underclass is economically oppressed, they are not exploited in the traditional sense. They lack the labor power that capitalists can profit from, which means they are.
Okay, and that just pushes us to the topic of today is why non-citizens often become a permanent underclass, a structural breakdown of how systems shape opportunity. Okay, so why do non-citizens remain stuck as an underclass in the cycle of poverty? Mainly because many, see, I want to say this. A lot of people don't see the cycle or their barriers, especially mainly because they're non-citizens and they may not get all or the same opportunities as other people, but also they are part of the system of the cycle of poverty. What is a permanent underclass? That is a generational persistence, a group that stays a bottom across generations. It doesn't mean that these people have less value or are not as worthy or just less than other people. It's just that financially they're at the bottom of it. And it's a systemic issue, which means it's like continuous. For instance, okay, you just say it like this: my great-grandmother lived in the projects, my grandmother lived in the projects, my mother lived in the project, I lived in the projects, and now my children live in the projects. So it's just a cycle. And that's what is considered a permanent underclass, to where you don't see the cycle being broken. And the structural reproduction is may be done through legal reasons, like if the person's not a citizen, economic, or if the cycle of poverty and debt just keeps going. Because even in some cases where kids go to school and they become smart, even if they get a better paying job, if they have a lot of student loan debt, they still live in poverty, even though they know how to get in debt, but they have a student loan that is keeping them in poverty, and it just keeps the cycle going. Also, social structures to where people never truly learn economics and how to get out of poverty, so they remain a permanent underclass. And also, underclass is not just permanent. People with no power to change their situation, things like that as well. Okay, non-citizens face systemic obstacles that limit their opportunity and mobility. Limited job access. If you don't have your citizenship, it's easy to do day labor jobs. You can get hired as a day laborer, which are paid low wages, and sometimes you can be exploited to where the day laborer does the work and then they're still not paid, and because they really can't complain to somebody, or they're paid less than what was agreed upon before the work began. And they're restricted because it's actually illegal for a company to hire someone that does not have their citizenship. That's not talking about a visa. If you have a visa, if they have a work visa, then you can get hired. But even the work visas are limited, or they're in the process of getting their green card. There's ways around that. But if they have nothing, they're just here, then they do have a structural barrier. And they're often afraid, because as you see going right now, people are at risk of deportation. And people exploit them too for this reason as well. And that goes on what I'm talking about next. It's called the labor market trap. Okay? So protected jobs. Citizens have access to stable employment, benefits and protections, career advancement, and legal safeguards. Non-citizens get paid low-wage labor, and that's why a lot of people want non-citizens here. They always said that they're going to make a pathway to the citizenship, but that is a lie. So going on about almost 30 years since, not 30 years, 25 years since DACA was created, and none of those people have been granted citizenship under the DACA program. They got their citizenship through legal reasons, legal ways with their immigration lawyer or just working the immigration process. So without that, they remain with low wages, unstable positions, okay, no mobility. They can't move up in the company even if they're working at a place. If you struggle with having your citizen, you're not going to move up the corporate ladder or just a job ladder itself. And you have minimum protections against labor abuses, just unethical things happening on the job is very hard to fight. Even in some states, such as California, there are laws, but it's even limited, and it's limited access, and it doesn't always have the best outcome. The crazy thing is our economy rely on non-citizens for low-wage labor, creating a dual labor market that perpetuates inequality. And some people want this to continue. They basically want the United States to become like Dubai and some other, like just like the Arab countries have, to where they have people that come into the country, work, and that's all they do. They work. They get sick, they're just sent home. Not our problem. They're not our citizens. And that's what I think they're looking to do here in the United States. Housing challenge. High cost rentals and overcrowded conditions is something that non-citizens face. Even if they'll come out and say, yes, we have housing. We help housing for undocumented. Usually the prices are jacked up because they're not citizens of the country, and the people that are renting know that their choices and where they live is limited, so they can raise the prices. Usually it's multiple people living in that home because their wages are low. And it's part of the thing. Also segregated, and you're segregated to live in certain areas of that city. The schools, that even if they have children that go to schools, it's not that the schools are bad, they're usually underfunded, fewer connections. You're usually underfunded, overcrowded, and a lot of these schools are just told just to graduate the children instead of for teaching. It's so many kids in the class that the teacher's just trying to keep order and just pass the kids along. Some kids will do good and learn. It's mostly at their own motive to want to learn and get ahead. The rest will fail. But the school will still pass them. Even they say, oh, he graduated, even though the kid can't read. And that's not just on the school part, that's on the parents as well. And we'll get more into that as we continue to go. Okay. Social cultural barriers, language barriers. Yes, for being a non-citizen, language barriers is a lot. I live in California, and I can say if you know Spanish, you could be okay, but you still should learn English. But other languages, no, you need to learn English. English. You might be able to get by with Spanish, but English is a must. Like if you're speaking I just say any other language other than English, other than you might get by with Spanish, anything other than that, you have to learn English. In some countries, they just don't want to. It is very difficult to learn English, but it's something that you have to do. But some people, they just don't want to. And currently, they expect for society to bend to them to help them. Now, some companies do have interpreters, but that adds cost. And that's another cost on that non-citizen, which either if you think that the cost goes to the company, but the company always passes that cost off to their customer on that. So the language barrier is a big thing. Also, just trying to get services, if a person doesn't know the language, it leads to frustration and anger when it's just a language barrier. Employment opportunities. If you don't know the language of that country, even if you're not in America, if you go to like Tokyo, you would do better if you spoke Japanese. If you went to France and you spoke French, you would do better. If you went to, let's say, Zambia, whatever language they speak there, you would do better if you know not only the language but the culture as well. Discrimination, I put discrimination here, but it's not what you think. It's just, well, it kind of goes what I was talking about in hiring practices. If they know that you're not a citizen, a lot of times they won't hire you because you don't have like a social security card. You're not supposed to be in the country because you're a non-citizen. If you have a work permit, that helps. Even people with work permits, they get discriminated to where they only want you doing the low-wage jobs. And you hear it on TV a lot. People think that they're taking up for migrants, but oh yeah, this is the jobs that they do. Like they actually can do more than that. You just don't know the language or their culture. But you're always looked at as less than. I would say that's where the discrimination comes into play. Limited networks. Mostly, if you're a non-citizen here, you don't have connections around. You may know a few people, but you don't know a lot of people. And right now, networking and who you know is becoming strong again. This is how it was back like in the 40s, 30s, 20s, and 40s. When it came up to move the ladder, you had to get to know people, meet people. But through certain laws, it came just you would apply, and you just had to be like a good person that interviews well. And this is kind of like the loop where it kind of goes along with the cycle of poverty. You start out with low wages, poor schooling, legal insecurity, and then the next generation follows the same thing. Even in some cases where the children are citizens, it takes a few generations to break this cycle because the child generations have to take care of the adults who have poor education, and they have low wages because they're older, and healthcare is one of the biggest thing that keeps people in poverty in what's called the underclass. Because you may have a person that has some sense, but they don't have the education, even though education is not as big as it was, but you still need that piece of paper saying that you have the ability to learn to move up in different jobs or even given an opportunity of it. And a lot of people don't understand what opportunity. That's one good thing about this country. There is opportunity, but you have to be a citizen. If you're a non-citizen, opportunity is lacking. And some people try to do that, but it's difficult, and it's a reason why. Okay, the system's not the people. Reason why I say that is because there's a way to have people come here to this country to work legally. And it's not a way. What Joe Biden did when he opened up the border and just let people in was a nightmare and a lie. They made it appear that they wanted people here, but what they wanted was an underclass here. That's why instead of, and I kind of want to make this point here, instead of making people that were under DACA citizens, they let a whole different group of people here that did not know the country, they don't know how it works. Unlike people that are under DACA, they do know how the country works. They would just make them citizens, and they already know how the United States works. So that would be better than letting a bunch of new people here that have no idea how this country works. So that's why I say it is a system that is currently in place right now to keep people in underclass. This kind of doesn't connect. Finally, the biggest thing I just wanted to understand, because there's a lot of things with immigration is going on, and there's a lot of misdirections. The biggest thing that I see here is if you are in this country and you're not a citizen, you need to study the immigration law very deeply and get yourself a pathway to citizenship. Do not depend on the government. Do not depend on all these people out here ranting and yelling, and all they're doing is yelling. They're not making a real change. To real change, you have to know the law, and you have to know it and how to make it work for you in a way. So that instead of walking out of a school, you need to be in a library. If you really want to help people who are not citizens, learn the immigration law, learn the cycle of poverty, also learn the cycle of trauma too, because a lot of non-citizens are traumatized. They are abused many different ways. They are through labor, overworked, underpaid, and sometimes not even paid at all for it. So yeah, that's what I say. Just something just to take a look at and just to think about. Thank you.